Thanks for the invitation. Thanks to the Motor Museum. Thanks to ARTos Foundation. Thanks for being here. Thanks for not being too drunk to follow. Thanks for your attention. I will set the timer now and start. My presentation is called Untitled Untitled. It's a little joke about this little trend that people say, artists say untitled, and then in brackets they say what really is about. This is Untitled Untitled because you will also, well, the subtitle is Lost in Transition. I'm invited to this definition of transitory art group that we were working out a little bit today. In Berlin, I live and work in Berlin at the moment. I asked a lot of my friends, what is this transitory art that we're talking about, and nobody knew. So I sat down and I continued to think a little bit. Since I'm not an art theorist or an art historian, I will tell you some thoughts that I came up with what transitory art possibly could be or might be from my perspective, and also comparing a little bit some of my works in what manner they could actually fit into this, or where there are some parallels. First of all, this is the city I come from. I mean, it's not the whole city, it's only the church. And I found it quite interesting in the question of maybe it's a transitory art is a transit through epochs and style. This, why I chose these images, you see down there is the Gothic, and they started to build here Baroque. So you see the two towers, they are actually finished in Baroque, but the down is Gothic. So I thought, in a relative time, maybe this is transitory art. So basically over 200, 300 years, maybe that's transitory art. But maybe this is a project from Olafur Eliasson, who you probably all know. It's called The Little Sun. It's a solar lamp that is actually helping some regions to have electricity, or to be able to do, let's say, homework or home tasks without electricity. Maybe it's transitory art is that an artist transits through methods of production. However, these are the 5 main questions that I want to tackle with this little presentation. But let's start with the first one. Is performance and sound art the most transitory of the arts? Possibly everybody asked themselves. I will share here, as I said, my experience. So I will introduce 1, 2, 3 projects for each of those things, as much as time as I have. The Modni Constructor and Schachnovelle. It's a theater piece that is actually premiered yesterday, and the other one was in 2012. So I was thinking about fashion as a... so now there's always going to be this Windows line on top of it. Well, you can still read it. Why I was thinking that maybe in fashion or performance art is the most transitory of all arts is because we were with this limited amount of time. This show cost 20,000 euros from the Goethe Institute, financed in St. Petersburg, and it lasted exactly 12 minutes. So we built this whole, you see models standing on this conveyor belt, like dolls or like in a fabrication. They go towards the end, and this is the fashion show. So instead of a catwalk, fashion as a very transitory medium. Then Schachnovelle, it's from Stefan Zweig, an Austrian writer, where I was making I was making the stage design here. You see also inspired from the Ghostwriter project, which some people here are also taking part in. This is UV light with a UV flashlight, and you can actually, for one scene, you will actually see what's written on this. I don't know if you know the Schachnovelle, it's about National Socialism. So another transitory thing is here, the second wall of this prison. For one little moment, the light goes off and you see Adolf Hitler there. This just as an example how I see performance art as a transitory medium. Then the next question was, is transitory art based in ephemeral matter? So here I want to introduce 3 projects that have this, who actually work with ephemeral matter in it. It's first bubble in the box. It's a soap bubble, which is filled with ink and then blown into a 7 x 7 x 7 centimeters cube. You have this instant of the bursting bubble in a 3-dimensional space, and then you can actually fold it up. So the soap bubble is an ephemeral, transitory object, or I called it simple suicidal systems. This is the setting. They were put on timers so that they were actually kind of independent in space. This is the space view that you see, and the machines are machines that are related to animals that I found in St. Petersburg in cages, and they are trying to commit suicide. So this one is like trying to cut the electricity cable. This one is sawing into the motor block, and this one is trying to jump off a shelf. So it's always. And then this is a self-portrait, which is my diploma work. Actually, it's 2 sandstone wheels. Wheels made from sandstone, which are rotating continuously, and slowly the sand is dripping down. Sand dripping, not but like crumbling down. Sand as one of the images for passing time. Then I was asking myself, maybe trajectory art is possible instead of transitory. I was understanding transitory art as a thing that you have a point A, you have a point B, and you transit towards it. Now I asked myself, maybe the way from point A to point B, maybe that's the trajectory. So the question is, maybe the trajectory art as opposed to transitory art, for finding a definition for the first. So I made, I will just show you quickly these 2 words. This is a machine that has a motor on the one side, and it has 15 to 16 gears. And on the other side, this wheel turns in 1.5 years, it turns 1 time. So the whole idea is about actually speeding down the movement to a point where you cannot see the movement anymore, and you actually wait forever to see this work actually work, or you would have to speed up the time a lot. And then the work that I also presented in Cyprus, which is now ready, you have this dice which is continuously rolling on the table. It's quite new work, and it's continuously rotating on the table, also questioning when does time of a certain object begin and when does it end. Can you imagine? It's rolling. It's getting emotional. Then the other question was, how does transitoriness affect artworks in public space? I have a work in public space. It's called Dispatch Work since 2007. It's in place. It's a project where I repair public spaces, broken public spaces with plastic construction pieces. In this case, it's Lego. This is in New York in front of the Madison Square Garden. And I was sent this image by a journalist afterwards. Well, you can see that public space obviously is a very transitory space for objects, because basically everything that you put in public space is completely, it's fair game. You will not find many public installations in public space which will last forever. Then another transitory aspect of this is that I don't know these people. These are from Sao Paulo, and this is one of the first crews who actually sent me their images to propose it for me to put it on the website. So there was a transition from this idea. I made it strictly as a sculpture installation, showing the work in different art in public space locations, and then it transited in a way to this open source community that people actually started to take up this idea and do it in their own locations without me actually knowing of it, and then afterwards sending me the pictures, and I put it up on the website. Or maybe what was also interesting for me was how the physical transit of site-specific works was actually affecting these works. So I have here two works. The one is called Further Light Travels. I did it in Ecuador. The other one is a work that's going to come out in 2015. And this one is the one in Ecuador. What I find interesting is here, it's 1,000 meters of cable, and in the end it's a 100 watt light. It's completely dimmed down just by the friction in the cable, let's say. And here I think it's quite remarkable that if I would have done this work in Europe, I would have possibly just put a pile of cable on the floor and that's it. But since in Ecuador everything looks like this, I don't know if you've been to countries where there's cables everywhere and all over the street, so I decided to put it up like this. Now in return, when I was in Ecuador, people said, wow, this is perfect, this is so site-specific, you really get the essence of Ecuador. Now if I show it here, I think people don't necessarily relate to it in the same way. Because here all the cables are underground. And then the last one is this, it's a crown made from this garden fences. I'm not sure if you know these fences. In Chile, every house has this, around every garden you have these black, exactly these black spikes. They're on top of the hill, on top of the wall. And yeah, everybody knows them there. Now if I show it to somebody in Germany, nobody would really understand it. So this transition I found quite interesting also, and it's a cultural thing obviously, and also you have to have the knowledge about it. And I'm done with 12 minutes, so we have 3 minutes if you have any questions. Do you have questions?